Hello, I'm Professor Benavides, and I want to go ahead and cover some basic string concepts in Python. There's really so many things we could cover. I want to keep it as simple as possible. I want to talk about string variables, the differences between single and double quoted strings. Also want to talk about a formatted string and maybe go back into history about how people did stuff like that before, how people pass these strings to the print function, even go back a little further, see if I have enough time to talk about concatenation, use a little bit, use some of the escape codes for like tabbing and ulining, and I want to go ahead and show you some errors. If I don't make some along the way, I'll have to make some so that we can look at the traceback inside of the Sublime Text editor, which I will be using. So those are the concepts that I want to cover. I want to stay, within that, within those parameters. I'm going to put all these concepts in a little toy program called, let's just call it Python Facts, to encapsulate our basic concepts today. So let me go ahead and start Sublime Text. And I want to go ahead and start by saving it. So I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to put this on my desktop. And I'm just going to go ahead and call this Python _ facts. Because we're going to go ahead and cover a few facts about Python along the way. It's really important that you give the extension of .py when you're using the Sublime Text editor. That's how it knows that this is going to be a Python program. Minor documentation, let's go ahead and have, say, for example, the name of the program, your name, the date. I said minor, right? And purpose, why not? Or description. Then we'll have like a little nice little separator. This is a single line. The pound sign is used for the single line comments. Later on, we'll talk about the doc string. So this is just basic documentation. So we'll say Python _ facts. And you'll go ahead and put down your name. And the date. And description. All right, so let's go ahead and, start this up. So we'll first start off by declaring a few string variables. And basically the idea here is we're going to talk about some basic, we're going to print out some basic facts about Python onto the screen and mix it up a little bit. So first of all, let's go ahead and create a string variable for like your first name. And we'll incorporate this into the concept in just a minute. So we're in Python, variables we like to have use the second underscore when you have another word. So first name gets, let's just say Fred. Okay. So basically what you're doing there is you're assigning, this is an assignment statement. You're assigning Fred to first name. Okay. So first name is a variable and Fred is a string that's being assigned to first name so that we can use it. It may not show like much benefit right now, but later on when you reuse it a lot, it has a lot of benefit. Let's go ahead and have another variable for our last name. And of course, you know who it is. Well, you may not know if you're very young, but I used to watch these when I was little. And let's go ahead and contrast this. We're gonna go ahead and put that in a formatted string in just a little while and try and concatenate it a little bit. Let's contrast that with maybe putting in the whole name all in one variable. So like take, for example, you know, Python's creator, if you want to call it that way. And I guess you all know who that is. And in case you're wondering, the van should not be capitalized. That's the proper way of spelling his name. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the F string. And what a formatted string does is it allows us to put the variables in little placeholders. And let me try and do this in a very basic kind of way. You know, so I'll just say something like message gets, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, you know, let me just go ahead and get a very basic string on here. Like say, for example, I'm going to say my name is. Okay, so what I could do here is I could go ahead and put in some like placeholders. And then those placeholders is where I'm going to go ahead and put in the variable. So like I said, I'll show you the formatted string right away. To make this a formatted string is that right before your string, your double quotes, you put in an F. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and put in the placeholders that I'm talking about, which would be the curly brackets. And that's going to be our first placeholder, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and have another curly brackets. That's going to be, so I'm going to say my name is Fred Flintstone, and I'm going to put a little period right in there, right? So let's go back here and put in first name and then last name, all right? And now let's go ahead and print that. The print function is what we use. And we're going to send message as an argument. Okay. So I'm going to do a control B, and it says my name is Fred Flintstone. Okay. So it's lowercase. If I want, I could go ahead and use a method to convert this to, title case. So I could say title. Right after the string variable. And now we'll go ahead and do a control B again, and now it says my name is Fred Flintstone. So what I want to do now is I want to distinguish between a method and a function, because sometimes people get those words mixed up in Python. So whenever you use the dot operator on here, on an object or a variable like this, and you have these, this parenthesis here, let's refer to this as a method. A method performs an action. Now, over here on line 13, I have the print function. Function performs an action, returns a value to the place from which it's called. In this case, it's receiving message, and it's going to go ahead and get that message. And what is it going to do? It's going to go ahead and put that on the screen, right? So let me do a control B, and there it is. My name is Fred Flintstone. Notice how I have title case on Fred Flintstone, okay? So this F string was, we first started seeing this in, I think it was Python 3.6. Before people did all kinds of stuff, like say, for example, they just had a string, they had the placeholders in here, and they used the format method. So let me go ahead and contrast that with the previous way. And they would say something like this. And they would have the placeholder, the first placeholder, and then the second placeholder. Okay. And then they would go ahead and use the format method. So they would say format, and then they would pass it the variables. First name, comma, last name. Okay, so let's see if that works. Remember how we need to experience a message. I'm going to call this message 2, right? Let's do a control B. And notice how it accomplishes the same thing. The only thing I got to do now, if I want to make them the same, I would say title. Okay. So using the title method here should work. So yeah, the only thing that's missing is that the little period. So that period is right in here inside the string. So these curly brackets are where you put in the variable. So what does it do here? This format method is going to go ahead and put in the first name in the first placeholder and then last name in the second placeholder. So as you can see, people really like line 11 better than line 12. Yeah, they really like that, even though you end up getting pretty much the same thing. And let's see if we can accomplish this another way. Let's see if I can bang it out. I haven't used concatenation in a long time. Let's go ahead and say my name is. And in this particular case, let's see if I can go ahead and put in first name. I'm gonna run it real fast. Oh, I gotta go ahead and send it to the print. Okay. So there it is. My name is Fred. So if I wanted to build something equivalent here, I would have to put in the space and then last name, right? All right. Same name is Fred. If I wanted to go ahead and make that equivalent, all right. And then let's put that title method over here and run it again. And there I have it. I need the period. So you can see people got kind of tired of this concatenation thing because you have to go plus and plus and plus. Plus that, so line 13 worked out for a while, and then line 12 worked out for a while, and then now we're pretty much standardizing on line 11 as a way of placing variables inside of a string. Are there other ways of doing this there? Yeah, there probably is. Let's see if I can remember another way. So let's go ahead and say something like this. Well, I think that was about it, but yeah, let's just stop there. Because I said I wanted to keep it simple, and as you know something about programming, you can end up going through something like this. You could do it this way, and you could do it this way, and you could do it that way, and you could do it the other way. And really, for right now, I wanted to just prove the point that line 11 is a really good, easy way of mixing up your variables into a string. So let me go ahead and just stick to my purpose and go back. So basically, I defined a few variables. I created a formatted string, and then I printed it. Let me just do a Control B, and there I am back to where I want to be without deviating too much. Okay. So other things that I could do now is I can go ahead and start talking about the escape codes that I wanted to talk about. So I can say print and say things I have learned about Python. Right? So if I go ahead and do a control, I notice how I run this a lot. I like to run it a lot rather than wait to the very end to see, you know, if there's any errors. Of course, many times your editor will tell you have an error. Of course, it does a spell check for you. Learned, you know. So too bad about that, right? Things I have learned about Python, okay? And let me just go ahead and specify a few things. Let's use those escape codes that I was talking about. Just want to use, there's so many of them, but let's use the new line in the tab. Well, first of all, let me print them without the escape code so you can see what it'll look like. So let's say I want to learn that Python is a general purpose programming language. All right. And then I can go ahead and say print again. And then I'll go ahead and say Python was created by, of course, I could just type in the name of the creator, Guido von Rossum. But what I want to do here is I want to utilize that variable name. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a formatted string. And put in the placeholder. And come right in here and put in the variable name. I want to put in a period. Well, I haven't finished the sentence yet. Python was created by Guido and released in 1991. There's my little period on there. Let me go ahead and run this. So there you see that I have, my name is Fred Flintstone. I have things I've learned about Python. As you can see, this could very well look a lot better if I had some more line spaces in here, and maybe some tabs, stuff like that, and so you can make a new line with the print statement by itself. A lot of people like to use the escape code, of \n, and for tabbing we'll use the \t. There are some other ones, but let's just go ahead and stick to what we need to go ahead and talk about. But first of all, let's say that I want to have a line space after the first thing here. My name is Fred Flintstone. So I could just come over here and put in a print statement all by itself. Run it. My name is, well, that didn't work out, did it? Oh, because I put it in the wrong place, right? So let's just go ahead and cut that and put it right in here, right? It's got to appear after the initial print statement. So there it is. My name is Fred Flintstone. Okay. So that's kind of primitive. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put in the \n right after the period over here. This is an escape code, right? And let's just run it again. So there we go. This is line 11. This \n, is probably the way that you should accomplish that objective on here. So things that I've learned about Python, same idea here. I'm probably going to want to go ahead and have a blank line there, and I could go ahead and put that in. I could put it in different places, but for right here, I'm just going to go ahead and put a \. Let's say I want a tab, so I'm going to go not only new line, but I'm going to go \t. Right, and while I'm there, I might as well just go ahead and put in another \t to give me another tab underneath it, and at the very end, I'll just throw in an old-fashioned print, and let's just run this again with a Control B. So my name is Fred Flintstone. Things I have learned about Python. Python is a general-purpose programming language. Python was created by Guido von Rossum and released in 1991. Notice how the reason why I like that last print on line 18 is that it gives me, blank line at the end of the program. So let's just go ahead and break this. I forgot I did. I need to go ahead and break this. Like, say for example, how could I have done this naturally as as a human being? I could have done something, sometimes something like this, But notice how the editor is telling me that I really shouldn't do that. But let's say I just don't get the idea. So when I run it, you get this traceback here. And this traceback is an error. It tells me I've got an error on line 15. Okay. and it's pointing to the place where I have the error. So that should give me an idea as to what I should be. It says it's a syntax error. So hopefully you get the idea that they should match up. So I can use single quotes or double quotes. Since I'm coming from a Java background, I like to use double quotes, but single quotes is what you'll find a lot of Python users using for strings. So let's do Control B. And so the single quote is kind of good, especially if you want to go ahead and use double quotes inside the string. You could, if things may get a little mixed up, and so you could end up using escape codes, for that purpose. But let's just keep it to task. Or maybe I should go ahead and break something. Like say, for example, I could say print, and let's say I'm doing a single quote. What could I probably say? So what happened here is it's making it seem, when I put in, let's try the single quote again. Okay, so let's say Bob's. It's not letting, it's getting confused with that \n. See, even if I do put a single quote at the end here, see how it's getting confused, right? So this is confusing things, So I could put in a backslash in that particular case, Bob's best friend is, right? So if I run it, you see, so there's good reasons why you want to learn about escape codes. And like I say, I don't want to end this presentation being you can do it this way, you can do it that way kind of thing. So let's just stick with these basic ideas right here of strings. To reiterate, we learned about a string variable. We learned about a formatting string. We learned about the print function and distinguish it. We distinguish the print function from a method, or a function from a method. We then utilize the print method to show some string literals or onto the console window. What we're creating, I think probably the biggest concept on here is the formatted string. When you're creating your formatted string, you use these placeholders. These placeholders, you put them into the string with curly brackets. And hopefully you can see that at first this may look really weird, but hopefully it kind of makes sense and actually useful compared to the other ways that we use to go ahead and do things. So Control B at the very end, just to go ahead and make sure the program is still working. And that's pretty much my review of basic string operations. Okay. Thank you very much, and goodbye.